So there's been a lot of discussion lately about Pokemon Sword and Shield and how lackluster the game feels right now. Everyone's defending the game, saying it's just a demo and we can expect things to change when the actual release of the game comes out. I don't necessarily think that's true because we've seen Pokemon games release where hardly anything has ever changed in it. As a matter of fact, I remember the acid rain glitch existing in three Pokemon games before they finally decided to fix it, which was fixed in the next generation of games. So they don't necessarily fix things. They'll release something and it's like that. And considering the game is so late in development and we're still seeing things like uh, bird Pokemon still floating in one spot, turning 180 degrees because that's how flying works apparently. Seeing like low textures on background objects, Pokemon, and other NPCs popping into existence because the Switch can't support a larger draw distance, I suppose. I mean, we've got great looking games on the Switch like Breath of the Wild. And while I'm not a big Zelda fan or a Mario fan, these games are pretty impressive. So to see Pokemon Sword and Shield looking like a handheld game on the 3DS, which is, how long has the 3DS been around? Like 10 years? 10 years? No, that's not right, is it? It's probably right. I don't remember, but it's been a long around. I can't speak right now, but it's been around for a long time, and to see the next generation of Pokemon games on a home console that is capable, I believe the Switch is capable of 4K upscaled, but should be able to handle 1080p with ease and not have any issues. And we still have Pokemon games looking like they do. I didn't expect Pokemon to look like Pokken Tournament or have Pokemon models like they did out of Detective Pikachu. But these are still the exact same model styles that we've seen from Pokemon Battle Revolution. Even the app on my 3DS, Pokédex 3D, has these exact same models. And for what I've seen in the game right now, nothing looks like it's being changed. Wingull has the exact same animations that it's always had. Pikachu will most likely get more animations because he's Pikachu. Same with Eevee. A lot of these Pokemon already have a lot of the same animations. Like the thing that's been making rounds right now is the double kick animation that Score Bunny is using and how it looks the exact same that it's looked on two other games, Let's Go Eevee and I believe the 3DS titles of games. I think all of them actually, for a matter of fact. And how people are defending it and saying that this is okay. You're just going to delete that move anyway. No, it's not about that. For me, it's about quality. They're saying that they're not putting every Pokemon in the game because they don't have the time or the resources to do it. And I think that's mostly because they're developing on another game called like Town or something like that. It might be called Home. I don't know. It's something else Game Freak's working on. But they're working on that while working on Pokemon Sword and Shield. So for them to say that, we just don't have the time to put in every Pokemon. Well, I mean, you're grabbing models that have existed for years now, and all you have to do is just put them in. A Nintendo Switch game card is like 50 gigabytes at the highest end. It's like about 24. It's about the size of a Blu-ray disc, both the normal and dual layered. So we're looking at about 50 gigs of space, and 3D models don't take up that much space, depending on how detailed it is. I suppose at most it'll take like, between 17 and 25 megabytes. And these are Pokemon models, the ones that have been used forever. And these don't even exceed like 2 megabytes. I think even a handful might be just a couple of kilobytes because of how simple that they are. And it might have done some things like increase the tessellation of 3D models, which makes them look smoother. So that way you don't see as many faces on them. and tries and quads. Like if you've ever looked at Electro, and I believe this here was true for Pokemon Battle Revolution, you will see a bunch of squares on the body as the light moves around it. That's because they didn't increase the amount of triangles that you would see to make that surface smooth. And the reason they didn't do that, because it takes a lot of memory to round something out, because a sphere, you know, a perfect one, can be made of like billions of triangles and squares and other things, and that's not something the Wii was capable of doing. So you know, you work with what you got, but these next generation consoles are capable of displaying like 2.7 trillion polygons, triangles and stuff like that in a scene without dropping in frame rate. They might actually be higher than that. These consoles are a lot more powerful. So to see that Pokemon also aren't getting upscaled and getting better made models is kind of, it doesn't make me confident that the game is actually going to do all that well. But it's a Pokemon game. We all know it's going to sell like an infinite amount of copies when it comes out. That's actually one of the main things I wanted to talk about while making this video. And if you couldn't already tell, this video isn't going to be scripted. So there's going to be a lot of ums and cuts and a lot of that other stuff in it. And I'm going to try to keep this video as like user friendly as possible, because I think this needs to get out and this is something that people need to be talking about. I work for my money and you work for your money. If you're in the workforce, you're working for your money. I work between 50 and 60 hours a week. Sometimes Saturdays are mandatory and the occasional Sunday. We don't work 7-day weeks all the time, but something happens and we might have to work 7-day weeks. So I work hard for my money. It's now summer here in Arizona and it can be 112 plus degrees outside, and I work outside in the heat, and I specifically take vinyl and logos off of things like FedEx trucks, police cars, border patrol vehicles, government and other work related vehicles that they no longer want, so they can be washed and sold through an auction. That's what I do, and my work requires that I stay outside for long hours. I get up at 4 in the morning to go to work by 5, and I don't get home some days until like 3:30, 4, maybe even 5 o'clock. And if we have a real busy day, it's something to like 6 and 7 o'clock. I'm out for more than 12 hours a day on some of these real busy work days, and those days are common on Monday and Tuesday. And I say that because I work hard for my money. And if I'm spending my money on a product, I want to know that I'm getting a good product. And Game Freak is a gaming company. They make games. They get published by Nintendo, and the Pokemon company, I suppose, oversees quality, accuracy of Pokemon models that are being made in games and whatnot. So this is like 3 companies. I think Game Freak is something like 120 people, and 120 people who've been making Pokemon games for forever. I think their most popular game like ever sold was like something. It was a Yoshi game for the Game Boy, I think. Their most popular game, and then Pokemon after that. But they've been making Pokemon, like, if you were to call Game Freak the Pokemon company, you technically wouldn't be wrong. But they have experience in making Pokemon games, but you can tell that they're getting burnt out from it. And when you look at games like Let's Go Eevee and how simplified it's become, and how recycled the game was, you kind of fear a little bit for that, because this has been Pokemon for the last like 6 or 7 years. When Pokemon X and Y came out, it didn't feel like anything was new. The game was horribly linear, and it didn't feel like you could discover something in that game. It was just play this Pokemon game, beat the Elite Four, and you're done, right? That's just kind of what these games were. Then we got Sun and Moon, and it was fun. It was a bore fest for me personally. A lot of waiting through cutscenes and waiting for something to happen before you get to play. And then Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon came out, and it was just Sun and Moon with in-game added to it. It's like they charge you an additional $40, right, for a DLC that was just Rainbow Rocket. There's a little other things scattered here and there, but I couldn't play through the entire game. I actually sold the game because it was unplayable to me because I had already played it, and I didn't want to go through all of that again just to get to the end game, where you could have just been like, well, here's the Rainbow Rocket DLC. We added it to the game. You can go and do this, and it's like $10, and I would have been fine with that. I probably wouldn't pay $20 for it, so I didn't have to play through the main game again. But when I saw that game and I saw what they were willing to do, what they were willing to sell, I kind of knew that the future of Pokemon was shook. I know a lot of people are blaming Pokemon Go for where Pokemon is heading now, and there's a lot of truth to that. That's simply because a lot of people play Pokemon Go, not necessarily all of them Pokemon fans, but Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where to get those people to say, hey, come over and play our main series of games too. It's a lot like what you're playing now. And we get Pokemon Let's Go Eevee with a lot of the Pokemon Go stuff in it, and it was a recycled game. Like, I didn't care too much that a lot of the attack animations were the same. This was kind of like a throw out there game, so you have something to do while we're working on our next main series game. And then we get Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I'm like, this is going to be great. We're going to have every Pokemon here. I'm going to be able to bring my Megas with me. Maybe they kill off Z-Moves, but Z-Moves weren't even good. I didn't like them, so I'm glad. I would be glad if those weren't there. If they were there, it's no big deal. But we get a lot of other stuff. Dynamax Pokemon is the new gimmick, and I don't necessarily care for that. It's like, here's a big Pokemon to fight with for a couple turns. I would much rather just have my Mega Evolutions because they're not in the game. And I guess it's okay that they're not in the game if none of them are going to be in the game. But I don't think anybody ever had a problem with Mega Evolution. So to abandon that mechanic makes it feel like you're just abandoning certain Pokemon. When I first heard Mega Evolution was coming out, I wasn't a fan of it. I was like, why not just increase the stats of those Pokemon in general and make them more competitive as opposed to giving them a new form? But I never thought that they would abandon Mega Evolution like that for the sake of a brand new mechanic, because now my favorite Pokemon, Pidgeot, is going to be garbage in this game. Whereas if they just gave Pidgeot the plus 100 base stats, it would still be halfway decent, right? Which goes into the next point. I mean, not every Pokemon is going to be in this game, and that's not something that I ever thought would happen. When I was on Poke Beach and they were talking about, or one of the mods made a post talking about like a discussion or something, or a press conference that the Pokemon Company was having, and I posted a comment on that thread. I was like, well, is there something that I'm going to be able to ask? Like, can I ask questions to figure out some specific things about this game? Because at this point, I didn't know that not every Pokemon was going to be in the game, that Megas weren't going to be in the game, that Z-Moves weren't going to be in the game. I didn't know anything about Dynamax Pokemon. I might have, but I don't think I knew anything about that. But I just had some general questions that I would have liked to ask about the game. And one of the other users on there, responded to my post and said, I'm sure there's going to be a Pidgey in the game, jokingly, because on Pokebeats, I'm always talking about the Pidgey line. That got me banned one time, too. It was actually kind of funny. But, I'm always talking about the Pidgey line. And he just said, Pidgey is going to be in the game. And I had no reason to think that Pidgey wasn't going to be in the game, because Pidgey is in every main Pokemon game. Every Pokemon is in every main Pokemon game. And I responded back to him with like a clip of Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, saying filibuster, because that was the first response I threw him out, because it was funny. But looking back on that now, when he had said, Pidgey is probably going to be in the game. That's not exactly true anymore, simply because not every Pokemon is going to be in a game. We don't know what Pokemon are going to be in a game. In the trailer so far, I didn't see a Pidgey. So that's concerning to me, whose favorite Pokemon, is Pidgeot. I'm not going to be able to go through and play through this game with the Pokemon that I go through and play every Pokemon game. Pidgey was my first Pokemon I've caught. It was the first, Pokemon that I caught that I evolved to the max form. So, the Pidgey family has a very special place in my heart. And to be able to play the new Pokemon game with a Pokemon that I, sincerely love is the one thing that I look forward to. But seeing that that might not be possible in this game really is going to kill my enjoyment of this game. And that's if I even buy it at all now. Because like I said, I work hard for my money. And I don't want to be sold a product that has low quality textures, that have models that pop in and out of existence because of draw distance issues, that have attack animations that were better on Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 and Battle Revolution. Have a quality of game that doesn't fit the evolution of the franchise. And I say that because for me, if Pidgeot's not in this game, I'm not going to buy it. No Pidgeot, no sale. And one person saying that isn't going to matter. Shofu made a video talking about the top 10 Pokemon that he doesn't think should be in Pokemon Sword and Shield, right? And the number one Pokemon he says shouldn't be in a game is Unfezant. Because who likes Unfezant, right? I don't like Unfezant, but you guys know my channel. I love bird Pokemon. So I love Unfezant just a little bit. It's not my favorite bird Pokemon. But, it's a bird. I like it. And I want to see it there. But Shofu saying that Unfezant isn't anyone's favorite Pokemon. I know two people who have Unfezant as their favorite Pokemon. Not, saying that his opinion isn't valid, because I wouldn't want Unfezant in a Pokemon game to represent bird Pokemon over Pidgeot, for example. Pidgeot is probably one of the most popular bird Pokemon, and for it to not be in the game but a lesser known Pokemon would feel like a big slap in the face to me personally. Not that the Pokemon company should care about that, but for me it would feel that way. But he was right when he said that every Gen 1 Pokemon is probably going to be in the game. There's probably no reason to assume they won't be, but there's always a chance that they won't, because there are a lot of Pokemon that aren't guaranteed. Charizard's guaranteed, Pikachu's guaranteed, Mewtwo's guaranteed, by extension Lucario, or Mew is guaranteed. Lucario is guaranteed, and so is Riolu because it evolves into him. Zora and Zoroark guaranteed. Pretty much any cover legendary is going to be guaranteed. So you'll see like Rayquaza. You'll probably see Lugia. Not Ho-Oh. You don't usually see a lot of Ho-Oh, but Ho-Oh had a movie based on it, so you might see it. Who are some other Pokemon that you'll see? You'll probably see Machamp now. Machamp's actually increased in popularity a lot because the Pokemon company's been pushing it. What are some other extremely stupid popular Pokemon that you'll see? That's probably it, right? Pikachu, Charizard, Mewtwo, Lucario. Those four for sure. Those four will be in the game. But outside of that small group of Pokemon that you'll always see. Oh, Gardevoir too. Forgot about that one. Got to have your waifu mons around. But outside of that that small group, you're not guaranteed to see all the rest of them, and that worries me a little bit, because the reason I play Pokemon is so I can have a Pidgeot with me. I know people might say that's a stupid reason to play Pokemon, but I don't enjoy most Pokemon. You know how you have people that are like they're like a cat person or a dog person. Well, I'm a bird person, and I prefer to be around birds. But just like cat people or dog people don't like every single cat or dog. It might like a very specific species of cat or dog. I like a very specific species of bird. And for me, that's Pidgeot. You put Pidgeot in a product and I'll buy it. I mean, that's just what it is. It's like you might have a person that's like a German Shepherd kind of guy, and he prefers to have those type of dogs, but likes all dogs in general because he's a dog person. It's like that for me with Pokemon, and it's like that for a lot of people. So here's like what I urge people to do. You have to show these companies that they're not willing to do right by you, that you won't buy their product. So I would say wait until the game comes out. See what list of Pokemon are in the game, and if your favorite Pokemon isn't in the game, don't buy it. It's just as simple as that. If your favorite Pokemon is not in the game, don't buy it. Because the way you protest with companies like this is to don't buy their product. If you buy their product, then they take that as there's nothing wrong with it, so they won't have to fix it. But if you don't buy the game and it doesn't meet their projected sales numbers, they're going to look into what is the reason why they're not selling their product as well as they used to. And they're going to look into it. People aren't pleased by the lack of Pokemon in the game. That's why the most recent Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game scrambled and put every new Pokemon in it, or every Pokemon in it, so that way people could play with their favorites. I also think they instantly messed up the game by having some Pokemon not available on certain days, but I mean, I suppose you gotta take like 12 steps backwards to make any progress. It really shouldn't be like that. They should just be willing to listen to the people who are literally keeping them employed. But I guess that's really it. The community is right to be in outrage. We are getting a game on a console that is capable of much more than what they're giving us. I mean, Pokemon Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, it looks great. When they show those wide open areas, that's really what you want to see in games. You just want to have this huge area to run around and explore in. But then you get to the battles and it's still the same thing. Pokemon stand in place and might hop to do an attack, things that games had to do in the past simply because the power of systems weren't really up there. And then we get Pokemon Battle Revolution, where the Pokemon models actually made contact with one another for physical attacks. And I don't know if any of you seen the trailer for Pokemon Battle Revolution, where they had like Deoxys do a hyper beam and it just like melted a hole in the ground, blew up a hole in the background or wall, and there's actually environmental damage in it. That ambition for the Wii, and the Wii was capable of doing that. And then we get here on the Switch, where you're literally capable of deforming any single mesh that you put in the game if you're programming to do it like that. And we're still not getting that. We're still stuck with the 3DS days of graphics. I don't know. It's like I want to say I want to expect more from Pokemon, but it's really a franchise that I haven't really expected anything from. Like when I saw Pokken Tournament come out, I thought this was going to be a good move for Pokemon because they're willing to do something else with the series. And then Detective Pikachu come out and it has like swearing and Pokemon. I don't want to say they look good, but I mean, well, I don't want to say that the Pokemon just don't look good. But they attempted to bring them to the real world, and we're here with Sun and Shield. After having Pokken Tournament models and the models used for Detective Pikachu, and now we're back to these low poly, painted on faces and eyes and mouths, and I mean, it just doesn't. It doesn't feel like they're trying. Everyone is saying they're lazy, and it feels that way. Pokemon Sun and Moon is on the same console as Monster Hunter, for example, and you know how detailed those models get. I know the violence level of that game is different, and the art style kind of has to support the gameplay they're going for, but there are a ton of RPGs on the 3DS that look better than this. And a lot of people give it a pass simply because it's Pokemon, simply because it's Nintendo. And you really can't do that with these companies because you have to respect your wallet too. You know, you work hard for your money and you should want more than what it is that they're putting out. You know, somebody said, you know, don't settle for less, fight for more. And those words are true. You have to let them know that this is not okay. Put more effort into this game. Stop working on your other side project until this is right. Because I don't even know if I'm even excited for the game anymore. Like, I'm going to wait for it to come out and then see what's on the card and then go from there. And there's nothing I want there, then I mean, they're just not getting my $60. And everyone else should do that same thing too. If your favorite Pokemon's not in the game, don't buy it. So that's all I got to say about this. It's super last minute and improvised, and I'll probably just throw a static image on here or something and leave it at that. But just listen to my words and, you know, draw your own conclusions. So with that said, hope you all have a wonderful day and hurt Nintendo where, or hit Nintendo where it hurts. There we go. That's what I want to say.